Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of the human research vessel, Harmony's Edge, and watched the stars drift past the main window. The ship moved quietly through space toward the outer rim, where few species dared to travel. Most aliens thought humans were crazy for going to such dangerous places, but Lee Jun knew better. Humans had always been good at surviving in places that tried to kill them. Dr. Park Mira walked up beside him, carrying a data pad filled with readings from their latest discovery. She was the best xenobiologist in the human fleet, and had spent years studying how different alien species lived and worked. Her dark eyes showed excitement as she looked at the strange energy patterns they had found near a dead star system. "The readings are unlike anything we have seen before," she said in Korean, then switched to Standard Galactic so the alien crew members could understand. "These energy signatures are at least 50,000 years old, but they are still active. Engineer?" Kim Tae looked up from his control panel where green lights blinked in steady patterns. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he kept the ship running smoothly through the dangerous space near the dead star. "Whatever made those signals knew how to build things that last," he said. "Most of our technology breaks down after a few hundred years." Lee Jun nodded and was about to ask for more details when the communication system started making loud warning sounds. The bridge lights changed from white to red as an emergency signal came through the main speakers. All three humans stopped what they were doing and listened carefully. The voice that came through the speakers was high and musical, like wind chimes in a soft breeze. It belonged to an Altarian, and the words came out fast and desperate. "This is Veltar of the New Vega colony. We are sending this message to any ship within range. Our world is under attack by ancient machines that we cannot stop. They are killing everyone. Our weapons do not work against them. Our ships cannot escape. Please help us. We have 2.3 million people here, and they will all be dead in 5 days." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. The bridge became very quiet, except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Lee Jun felt his heart beat faster as he thought about what he had just heard. New Vega was an Altarian research colony that studied old alien ruins. The Altarians were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful people who made amazing technology, but were very weak physically. They could not fight anything stronger than a small animal. Park Mira checked her datapad quickly. "New Vega is 12 hours away at maximum speed," she said. "But Captain, we only have 47 people on this ship. We are a research vessel, not a warship." Kim Tae pulled up star charts on his screen and pointed to a cluster of blue dots. "The nearest Galactic Council fleet is 3 weeks away," he said. "They have real warships with thousands of soldiers, but they will never reach New Vega in time." Lee Jun walked to his captain's chair and sat down heavily. He had been in the human space fleet for 20 years and had never faced a decision like this. The Galactic Council had strict rules about research vessels getting involved in military situations. If he took his ship to New Vega, he would be breaking direct orders and could lose his command. But if he did nothing, over 2 million innocent people would die. He thought about his own people back on Earth. Humans had joined the Galactic Council 200 years ago, but most alien species still did not understand them very well. They knew humans came from a dangerous world that most aliens called a deathworld, but they thought this just meant humans were tough and could survive in harsh places. They did not realize what growing up on such a world had really done to human nature. The communication system made noise again, and another message came through. This time the voice was weaker and more afraid. "This is Veltar again. The machines have broken through our outer defenses. They are moving toward the main city. Our energy shields are failing. They seem to be designed to counter everything. We try. Please, if anyone receives this message, we need help now." Lee Jun looked at Park Mira and Kim Tae. Both of them were watching him carefully, waiting to see what he would decide. He knew they would follow whatever order he gave, even if it meant their own deaths. This was something humans understood better than most species in the galaxy. When your family was in danger, you protected them no matter what the cost. Kim Tae: "Set course for New Vega at maximum speed," Lee Jun said. "Park Mira, send a message to Earth Command telling them what we are doing and why. Make sure they know we are not abandoning our post, but responding to a humanitarian crisis. Park Mira." smiled and started typing the message while Kim Tae's hands flew over his controls, changing their course toward the Altarian colony. The ship's engines grew louder as they increased speed, and the stars outside began moving faster. "Captain," Kim Tae said after a few minutes, "I should tell you that our weapons are not designed for fighting. We have basic defensive systems and some mining charges, but nothing that could stop military machines." Lee Jun stood up and walked to the weapon control station. The screen showed their small collection of tools and defensive equipment. They had particle beam cutters for cutting through asteroid rock, explosive charges for mining operations, and basic energy shields to protect against space debris. Against ancient war machines, designed to kill everything they found, these weapons would be almost useless. "We will have to be creative," he said. "Humans have always been good at using whatever tools they have available. We survived on Earth for millions of years before we had any advanced technology at all." The ship continued racing toward New Vega while the crew prepared for whatever they would find there. Park Mira studied everything the Galactic Council database had about ancient war machines. Kim Tae worked on modifying their mining equipment to be more useful in a fight. Other crew members checked their emergency supplies and made sure the ship was ready for combat. 8 hours into their journey, another message came from Veltar. His voice was now very weak and filled with pain. "The machines have reached the main city. They are not just killing us, they are hunting us. They seem to enjoy the chase. Our people are hiding in the underground shelters, but the machines are breaking through. I estimate we have less than 2 days before they find everyone." Lee Jun felt anger building in his chest as he listened to the desperate alien scientist. The Altarians were peaceful people who had never hurt anyone. They spent their time studying old ruins and making beautiful art. They did not deserve to be hunted down and killed by ancient machines that had been sleeping for thousands of years. "How much longer until we reach them?" he asked Kim Tae. 4 hours, Captain," Kim Tae replied. "But sir, what can we do against machines that the Altarians cannot stop? They have much better technology than we do." Lee Jun looked out at the stars again and thought about his home world of Earth. It was a planet that had tried to kill humans in every way possible. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, deadly diseases, and predators that were bigger and stronger than any human. But humans had survived it all by being stubborn, clever, and willing to do whatever it took to protect their families. "The Altarians are thinking like civilized people," he said. "They are trying to fight these machines with advanced technology and proper tactics. But sometimes the old ways work better than the new ways." Park Mira looked up from her research. "What do you mean, Captain?" Lee Jun smiled grimly. "I mean, we are going to show these ancient machines what happens when they threaten the family of Earth's children." The Harmony's Edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Vega system and immediately began scanning for signs of life. What they found made the entire human crew go silent with shock and anger. The beautiful blue and green world that should have been home to over 2 million Altarians was now covered in smoke and fire. Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge watching the main screen as it showed burning cities and crashed ships scattered across the planet's surface. The orbital stations that once moved peacefully around New Vega were now twisted metal debris floating in space like broken toys. Dr. Park Mira worked frantically at her science station trying to locate any surviving Altarians. "I am picking up life signs from underground shelters in the northern continent," she said, "but the readings are weak and getting weaker. I estimate maybe 50,000 people are still alive down there." Engineer Kim Tae pointed at his tactical display, where red dots moved across the planet's surface like a spreading disease. "Those must be the hunting machines," he said. "There are hundreds of them, and they are moving in organized patterns toward the underground shelters." Sergeant O'Day walked onto the bridge carrying a rifle and wearing combat gear. He was a former Korean Special Forces soldier who had joined the space fleet to see new worlds, but had never forgotten his training. His face was hard as stone as he looked at the destruction on the main screen. "Captain, request permission to take a team down to the surface," he said. "We need to see what we are dealing with before we can help those people." Lee Jun nodded. "Take pilot Lim So and medic Choi Jun with you. Use the small scout ship and stay hidden. We need information about these machines before we can plan an attack." Lim So was already suited up and ready to go. She had been a test pilot back on Earth before joining the research fleet and could fly anything with engines. Her eyes were bright with excitement despite the danger they were facing. Choi Jun checked his medical equipment one more time and grabbed extra supplies for treating wounded Altarians. The three humans took the small scout ship down through New Vega's atmosphere, while the Harmony's Edge stayed hidden behind one of the planet's moons. As they got closer to the surface, they could see the hunting machines more clearly, and what they saw made them understand why the Altarians had been so helpless. The machines were 12 feet tall and shaped like giant metal warriors. They moved on two legs, but their arms ended in weapon systems that could fire concentrated plasma beams capable of melting through solid rock. Their armor was black metal that seemed to absorb energy weapons rather than being damaged by them. Most terrifying of all, they moved with intelligence and purpose as they hunted down every living thing they could find. Lim. So landed the scout ship in a forest of tall trees several miles away from the nearest machine patrol. The three humans put on their combat gear and began moving carefully through the woods toward a group of machines that were attacking a small Altarian outpost. "These things are definitely military grade," O'Day whispered as they watched from behind a fallen tree. "Look how they coordinate their movements and cover each other's blind spots. Whoever built them knew how to make war machines." The humans watched as the machines systematically destroyed the outpost's energy barriers using focused plasma fire. When the barriers fell, smaller machines that looked like metal spiders rushed in to hunt down any Altarians who were still hiding. The whole attack was over in less than 10 minutes. "The Altarians never had a chance," Choi Jun said quietly. "These machines were designed to counter everything they know how to do." But O'Day was studying the machines with the trained eye of a soldier who had fought in many battles. "Wait," he said. "Look at how they scan for targets. See those sensor arrays on their heads? They are looking for energy signatures and fast movement patterns." Park Mira's voice came through their communicators from the ship in orbit. "I have been analyzing the machine design from our long-range sensors. The technology is definitely from an extinct species called the Krone. They were apparently a warrior race that built these machines to hunt the most dangerous predators in the galaxy about 50,000 years ago." O'Day smiled grimly as he understood what this meant. "So these machines are programmed to hunt apex predators that use energy weapons and speed to attack. They were never designed to fight something, like humans?" Limso looked confused. "What do you mean? How are we different from other dangerous species?" O'Day began checking his equipment, which included not advanced energy weapons but simple chemical explosive charges and a rifle that fired solid metal bullets. "Most predator species in the galaxy are stronger and faster than their prey. They use energy weapons because they can afford to fight directly, but humans are not apex predators. We are persistence hunters." Choi Jun nodded as he began to understand. "We evolved to chase prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We did not need to be stronger or faster because we could outlast anything." The three humans spent the next several hours watching the machines and learning their patterns. They discovered that the hunting machines were incredibly effective against anything that fought like a normal predator, but they had several weaknesses that only a species like humans would know how to exploit. First, the machines were designed to respond quickly to threats that moved fast or used energy weapons. They were not programmed to notice threats that moved very slowly or stayed perfectly still for long periods. Second, their sensors were calibrated to detect the energy signatures of advanced weapons, not simple chemical explosives or kinetic projectiles. Third, they expected their prey to either fight or run, not to use the environment as a weapon. O'Day made his decision. "We are going to test something," he told the others. "Stay here and be ready to run if this goes wrong." He left his position behind the fallen tree and began moving toward the nearest hunting machine. But instead of running or trying to use advanced tactics, he moved like a human hunter from Earth's ancient past. He crawled on his belly through the grass, stopped frequently to remain perfectly motionless, and took over an hour to cover a distance he could have run in 2 minutes. The hunting machine never detected him. Its sensors were looking for fast movement and energy signatures, not for something that moved like a patient predator stalking prey. When O'Day was close enough, He placed one of his chemical explosive charges on the machine's leg joint and crawled away just as slowly as he had approached. The explosion destroyed the machine's leg and sent it crashing to the ground where it lay helpless. The other machines in the area immediately began scanning for the source of the attack, but their sensors found nothing because O'Day was already lying motionless in the grass 50 meters away. Impossible, Lim So whispered through the communicator. You just destroyed a war machine that the Altarians could not even scratch. O'Day crawled back to their hiding position and smiled. That machine was designed to fight civilized predators that use advanced technology and move fast. It was never programmed to deal with a species that learned to hunt by being more patient and stubborn than anything else in the galaxy. The three humans spent the rest of the day testing different approaches against isolated machines. They discovered that human tactics worked almost perfectly against the ancient war machines. By moving slowly, using simple weapons, and thinking like persistence hunters rather than apex predators, they could destroy the machines one by one without being detected. Choi Jun used his medical knowledge to identify weak points in the machine, design that would be vulnerable to targeted attacks. Lim So used her pilot training to plan escape routes and strike patterns. O'Day used his military experience to coordinate their movements and choose the best targets. By the end of the day, they had destroyed 8 hunting machines and learned enough about their capabilities to plan a larger operation. More importantly, they had proven that humans could fight these ancient war machines and win. When they returned to the Harmony's Edge, Captain Lee Jun listened to their report with growing excitement. So you are telling me that these machines that have been slaughtering millions of Altarians can be defeated by using Stone Age hunting tactics? Oh, Day nodded. The machines are incredibly advanced, but they were programmed to fight a specific type of enemy. Humans hunt differently than any other species in the galaxy because we evolved on a world that forced us to be patient and clever instead of strong and fast. Park Mira looked up from her analysis of the machine wreckage they had brought back. This is fascinating. The Kron who built these machines apparently never encountered a species like humans. All their programming is based on fighting creatures that use energy weapons and speed tactics. Kim Tae was already working on modifying more of their mining equipment into weapons that would be effective against the machines. If we can destroy these things using simple explosives and kinetic weapons, then we might actually be able to save the remaining Altarians. Lee Jun stood up and walked to the main screen where the burning planet still filled the view. Somewhere down there, 50,000 innocent people were hiding in underground shelters waiting to die. But now, he knew that his small crew of humans might be able to do something that the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy could not. The message that Dr. Park Mira sent to Earth Command traveled through the galaxy's communication network at faster than light speed, but it still took 18 hours to reach Earth. When it arrived, it set off a chain reaction that would change how every species in the galaxy viewed humanity forever. Ambassador Yoon Hana was attending a routine Galactic Council meeting when her personal communicator began flashing with an emergency signal from Earth. She excused herself from the boring discussion about trade regulations and stepped into a private chamber to read the message. Her face went pale as she read Captain Lee Jun's report about the situation at New Vega. The message included video footage that O'Day had recorded during their ground mission. The ambassador watched in horror as the ancient hunting machines systematically destroyed Altarian cities and hunted down civilians who were trying to hide. But her expression changed to amazement when she saw the footage of 3 humans destroying war machines that had defeated the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. She immediately forwarded the message to the Galactic Council's Emergency Response Committee along with a formal request for immediate military assistance. But she also sent a copy directly to Earth's military command with a personal note that would prove to be more important than she realized at the time. Our children are in danger, she wrote. They are alone and outnumbered, but they are fighting to protect innocent lives. They need our help. On Earth, General Shin Rei was reviewing routine fleet reports when the message arrived. She was a veteran of the resource wars that had nearly destroyed Earth's environment 50 years earlier, and had spent her entire career working to make sure humanity never faced extinction again. When she read Ambassador Yoon's message and watched the video footage, something deep and primal awakened in her mind. She immediately called an emergency meeting of Earth's military high command. Within 2 hours, every senior officer in the Human Defense Forces was gathered in the secure briefing room beneath Earth's capital city. The room was silent as they watched the footage from New Vega and listened to the desperate calls for help from the dying Altarian colony. "How many of our people are at New Vega?" asked Admiral Park Dong, commander of Earth's Deep Space Fleet. 47, General Shin Ray replied. "A research vessel with a mixed crew of scientists and support staff. They are not equipped for military operations." Colonel Nam Hyun, leader of Earth's Special Operations Forces, studied the tactical displays showing the hunting machine's capabilities. "These Kron machines are impressive, but they have obvious weaknesses that our people have already learned to exploit. The question is whether 47 humans can save 50,000 Altarians before reinforcements arrive." General Shin Ray looked around the room at the faces of Earth's military leaders. These were people who understood what it meant to fight for survival because their ancestors had done it for millions of years on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. They knew that when family was threatened, you did not count the odds or worry about regulations. "You fought with everything you had. How quickly can we get a relief force to New Vega?" she asked. Admiral Park Dong consulted his fleet status reports. "The nearest battle group is 6 days away at maximum speed. But, General, those are exploration and patrol vessels. If we want to send our real warships, the ones designed for fighting in deep space hazard zones, we are looking at 10 days minimum." The room was quiet for a moment as everyone considered the implications. Earth's real military vessels were not the peaceful exploration ships that most of the galaxy was familiar with. They were ships designed for fighting in the asteroid belts, the radiation storms near pulsars, and the crushing gravity wells of gas giants. They were built by a species that had learned to survive in conditions that would kill most other forms of life. "Send everything," General Shin Ray said finally. "Battle Group 7 is the closest, so they go first. Battle Groups 3 and 5 will follow as soon as they can be prepared for deep space operations. And I want the Titan fleet mobilized as a reserve force." Colonel Nam Hyun looked surprised. "General, the Titan fleet has never been used in a real combat situation. Most of the galaxy does not even know it exists." General Shin Ray smiled grimly. "Then this will be a good test. Colonel, I want your special operations teams ready to deploy within 24 hours. These hunting machines may be advanced, but they have never fought humans who were actually trying to kill them." While Earth's military prepared for war, the situation at New Vega was becoming desperate. Captain Lee Jun had divided his small crew into teams and sent them to different parts of the planet to rescue as many Altarians as possible. But for every machine they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Sergeant O'Day led a team of 12 humans in an attack on a machine convoy that was moving toward the largest underground shelter. They used tactics that would have been familiar to human warriors from thousands of years ago. They dug hidden positions, waited for hours without moving, and struck at the machines with simple weapons when they were least expecting it. The attack was successful, but costly. 2 humans were killed, and 3 more were badly wounded when a machine's plasma cannon found their position. Medic Choi Jun worked frantically to save the wounded while the others continued fighting. "We cannot keep this up," O'Day reported to Captain Lee Jun. "We are destroying the machines, but they are learning our tactics. The newer ones have started, scanning for chemical explosives, and they are changing their patrol patterns." Pilot Lim So had taken her team to rescue a group of Altarian children who were trapped in a school building. She found herself fighting machines that seemed to enjoy hunting the small, helpless aliens. The sight of the terrified children made something snap inside her mind, and she began fighting with a ferocity that surprised even her fellow humans. "These things are not just killing," she reported over the radio. "They are playing with their victims. They are programmed to enjoy the hunt." Dr. Park Mira was using her scientific knowledge to study the machines and find new weaknesses. She discovered that the hunting machines were all connected to a central command system that was learning from each encounter. Every time the humans used a new tactic, the machines adapted to counter it. "Captain," she reported, "we are facing an enemy that gets smarter every time we fight it. Unless we can find and destroy the central command system, we will eventually lose this war." Captain Lee Jun was coordinating the rescue operations from the Harmony's Edge when he received an unexpected message from Earth Command. The voice that came through the communication system belonged to Admiral Park Dong, and the news he brought changed everything. "Captain Lee Jun, this is Admiral Park Dong of Earth Fleet Command. Your actions at New Vega have been noted and approved at the highest levels. Be advised that Battle Group 7 is en route to your position and will arrive in 5 days." Additionally, General Shinrei has authorized the deployment of Special Operations Forces to assist in your mission. Li Jun felt relief flood through him as he realized that help was coming, but the Admiral was not finished with his message. Captain, you should also know that your situation has been reported to the Galactic Council. The response from the other member species has been interesting. It seems that many of them are beginning to understand what humans are truly capable of when our family is threatened. The message continued with tactical information and supply drop coordinates, but Li Jun was thinking about the Admiral's last comment. For 200 years, humanity had been careful to present itself as a peaceful, scientific species to the galaxy. They had hidden their true military capabilities because they did not want other species to fear them. But now the galaxy was getting its first real look at what humans became when innocent lives were at stake. They were seeing the children of Earth's deathworld fight with patience, stubbornness, and a willingness to sacrifice themselves for others that most species found incomprehensible. On the planet's surface, O'Day's team had found the underground shelter where the largest group of surviving Altarians was hiding. The shelter was surrounded by hundreds of hunting machines that were systematically breaking through the defensive barriers. "We cannot fight all of them," one of his soldiers reported. "There are too many, and they know we are here." O'Day looked at the terrified Altarian faces peering out from the shelter entrance. These were peaceful people who had never hurt anyone. They had spent their lives studying ancient ruins and creating beautiful art. They did not deserve to be hunted down by machines that had been sleeping for thousands of years. "Then we do not fight them," he said. "We hunt them." Over the next 12 hours, the small team of humans began using tactics that the machines had never encountered before. Instead of trying to destroy all the machines at once, they began hunting them one by one using the patience and persistence that had allowed their ancestors to survive on Earth. They moved through the underground tunnel systems that connected the shelters, striking at isolated machines and then disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. They used the planet's natural caves and rock formations to hide from the machine's sensors. Most importantly, they never tried to fight fair. The arrival of Battle Group 7 marked the beginning of something the galaxy had never seen before. When Commander Kang Min's ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at New Vega, they brought with them technologies and tactics that made the other species in the Galactic Council realize they had never truly understood what humans were capable of. The ships themselves were unlike anything most aliens had ever seen. Where other species built sleek vessels designed for comfort and efficiency, human warships looked like they had been built to survive the end of the world. Their hulls were covered in armor that could withstand impacts from asteroid debris. Their weapons were designed not for clean, precise combat, but for the kind of total warfare that only a deathworld could produce. Colonel Bei Young commanded the ground forces that landed on New Vega's surface. She was a veteran of the Titan Wars, the classified conflicts that humanity had fought against rogue artificial intelligences in the outer system. Her soldiers were equipped with armor that could operate in hard vacuum and weapons that had been tested in the radiation storms of Jupiter's moons. When the Altarian survivors saw the human reinforcements, they could barely believe what they were witnessing. The humans moved through environmental conditions that would have killed most other species. They fought in the toxic atmosphere created by the burning cities without even slowing down. Most shocking of all, they seemed to thrive under the stress and danger that had broken the Altarian defenders. Dr. Kim's son, a xenoarchaeologist who had studied extinct civilizations for 30 years, was part of the scientific team that came with the relief force. Her job was to analyze the Kron technology and find ways to defeat it permanently. What she discovered in the ancient machine programming changed everything. The New Vega activation was not an isolated incident, she reported to Commander Kang Min during an emergency briefing. The Kron left these hunter-killer systems on dozens of worlds throughout this sector. When one system activates, it sends a signal that gradually awakens the others. We are looking at a cascading failure that could threaten every inhabited world within 50 light years. The implications were staggering. The galaxy was facing an enemy that had been dormant for 50,000 years, but was now awakening with the single purpose of hunting down and destroying all intelligent life. The Kron machines were not just weapons. They were an extinction protocol designed by a species that had apparently decided to take the rest of the galaxy with them when they died. Commander Kang Min immediately sent this information back to Earth, along with a request for additional support. The response he received came directly from General Shinrei and carried authorization codes that made him realize just how seriously Earth Command was taking this threat. Commander, you are hereby authorized to use any and all resources necessary to stop this threat. The Titan fleet is being deployed to your sector and will arrive within 10 days. Additionally, the Galactic Council has been informed that humanity is invoking Article 7 of the Mutual Defense Charter. Article 7 had never been used before. It was the clause that allowed any member species to mobilize for total war, if faced with an extinction-level threat. But more importantly, it gave humanity legal authority to use military assets that most of the galaxy did not even know existed. On the surface of New Vega, the battle had taken on a character that horrified and amazed the alien observers. The human soldiers did not just fight the Kron machines. They hunted them with a systematic efficiency that reminded everyone watching why Earth was classified as a Class 9 death world. Colonel Bae-Young's forces had divided into small teams that moved independently across the planet's surface. Each team operated like a pack of persistence hunters, tracking individual machines for days before striking with coordinated precision. They used the planet's geography as a weapon, leading machines into traps in narrow canyons and unstable cave systems that Sergeant O'Day, now reinforced with a full platoon of special operations soldiers, had become something of a legend among the Altarian survivors. They watched in amazement as he led his team through battles that should have been impossible to survive. The humans fought in conditions that would have killed most other species, using tactics that seemed to violate every principle of civilized warfare. They do not fight like soldiers, one Altarian scientist reported to his colleagues back home. They fight like predators that have been hunting for millions of years. They are patient, ruthless, and completely without fear. But it was not just the ground combat that shocked the galaxy. Admiral Park Dong arrived with the main battle fleet, bringing ships that had been designed for fighting in environments so hostile that most species could not even imagine them. These were vessels that could ram through asteroid fields, operate in the heart of radiation storms, and fight battles in the crushing gravity wells of gas giants. The Kron Central Command Station was located in orbit around New Vega's sun, protected by the intense radiation that would cook most organic beings in seconds. For any other species, this would have been an impossible target to assault. But humans had been fighting in hostile radiation environments for decades. Admiral Park Dong's flagship, the Soul's Vengeance, was a kilometer-long monster designed for deep space combat operations. Its hull was lined with materials that could absorb neutron radiation, and its crew compartments were built like bunkers to protect against cosmic ray bombardment. When it moved toward the Kron command station, it did so with the steady determination of a species that had learned to survive anything the universe could throw at them. The Kron artificial intelligence that controlled the hunting machines had been dormant for 50,000 years, but it was still incredibly advanced. When it detected the approaching human fleet, it began producing new machines specifically designed to counter human tactics. These new hunters were programmed to detect chemical explosives, to track slow-moving targets, and to operate in the kind of hostile environments where humans excelled. But the AI made a critical error in its analysis. It had been programmed by the Kron, a species that had been powerful apex predators with advanced technology. They understood strength, speed, and superior firepower. They had never encountered anything like humans. The new machines were more effective against human tactics, but they were still thinking like civilized beings. They expected their enemies to follow the rules of warfare, to fight for logical objectives, and to retreat when faced with overwhelming odds. They were not prepared for a species that considered a 40-hour combat operation to be normal, that used pain as information rather than motivation to retreat, and that became more dangerous when cornered. Captain Lee Jun, now promoted to Commodore, and given command of a task force, led the assault on the Central Command Station. His small research vessel had been retrofitted with military-grade weapons, but more importantly, it carried a crew that had been fighting the Kron machines for 2 weeks and had learned their weaknesses better than anyone. The battle for the command station lasted 18 hours and became the stuff of legend. Human ships fought through radiation levels that would have fried the electronics of most other vessels. Human soldiers boarded the station and fought hand-to-hand with machines in corridors filled with toxic gases and gravity fields that shifted randomly. Dr. Park Mira, now wearing combat armor and carrying weapons alongside her scientific equipment, led a team deep into the station's core to study the Kron AI directly. What she found there would change her understanding of warfare forever. AI was not just a computer program. It was the uploaded consciousness of an entire Kron military caste, preserved for 50,000 years with all their knowledge, skills, and most importantly, their limitations. They had been the ultimate predators in their time, but they had never faced anything like the children of Earth's deathworld. "It cannot understand us," she reported to Commodore Lee June as her team fought their way through the station's defenses. "The AI keeps trying to analyze our behavior patterns, but we do not fit any of its templates. It knows how to fight apex predators and how to counter advanced technology, but it has no programming for dealing with persistence hunters who use primitive weapons and refuse to give up." The final battle came when the AI, in desperation, activated its last resort protocol. The entire command station began to transform into a massive war machine designed to destroy planets. The Kron had apparently built it as a final gesture of spite, a way to ensure that if they could not rule the galaxy, no one else could either. But even this ultimate weapon was not prepared for what happened next. Instead of retreating or trying to find a safe distance, the human fleet moved closer. Ship after ship rammed into the transforming station, their crews fighting room by room through sections that were actively trying to reconfigure themselves into weapon systems. The Soul's vengeance, its hull glowing white-hot from radiation exposure, drove straight into the station's core. Admiral Park Dong and his crew fought their way to the AI's central processing unit not to disable it, but to have a conversation. "We know what you are," Admiral Park Dong said to the ancient artificial mind. "You are the ghosts of a dead civilization that cannot accept that your time is over." The destruction of the Kron Central Command Station sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy that had nothing to do with the massive explosion that lit up New Vega's star system. When the ancient AI died, it transmitted its final analysis of humanity to every remaining Kron system in the galaxy, and that analysis fundamentally changed how every intelligent species viewed Earth's children. Ambassador Yun Hana stood before the full assembly of the Galactic Council 3 weeks after the battle had ended. The Great Chamber was silent as representatives from hundreds of species watched the footage from New Vega. They saw human soldiers fighting in radiation that would have killed most organic beings in minutes. They watched human ships ram through obstacles that should have destroyed them. Most disturbing of all, they witnessed humans who seemed to become more effective the more desperate their situation became. The Kron AI designated humanity as a Class X threat, Ambassador Yun announced to the assembly. "This is a classification that has never been used before. According to the data we recovered, it means a species that cannot be defeated by conventional means because they do not follow conventional logic." The Altarian representative, Veltar, rose from his seat. The scientist who had sent the original distress call was now one of only 43,000 survivors from a colony that had once housed over 2 million people. His voice shook with emotion as he addressed the assembly. "I have seen humans fight with my own eyes," he said. "They do not fight like any other species I have studied. They do not seem to care about odds or personal safety. They fight like they would rather die than allow innocent people to suffer. The machines that destroyed my world were stopped not by superior technology or greater numbers, but by a species that simply refused to give up." In the weeks following the battle, similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds as the remaining Kron systems were systematically hunted down and destroyed by human forces. Each engagement revealed new aspects of human warfare that amazed and terrified the galaxy's other species. On Kepler 7, Colonel Nam Hyun led a special operations team through a Kron facility that had been built inside an active volcano. The humans fought for 6 days in temperatures that would have melted most other species, using cooling suits that barely kept them alive. When asked why they had not waited for better equipment, Nam Hyun simply replied that people were dying, and there was no time to wait. At the Rigel station, Captain Lim So commanded a squadron of human fighters in a battle that took place inside a nebula filled with ionized gas that disabled most electronic systems. The human pilots flew by instinct and manual controls, fighting machines that should have had every advantage. They won because they had trained for situations where their technology failed and had learned to rely on skills that most species had never needed to develop. Dr. Kim Sun's archaeological teams found evidence of previous encounters between the Kron and other species throughout their 50,000-year history. Every other civilization had been quickly defeated when they tried to fight the machines using conventional tactics. The Kron had expected humanity to follow the same pattern, but humans had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. Humans are not stronger or faster than most species, Dr. Kim Sun explained in her report to the Galactic Council. They are not more intelligent or technologically advanced. What makes them unique is their relationship with suffering. Where other species try to avoid pain and hardship, humans have learned to use these things as tools. The psychological impact of the human victory extended far beyond military circles. Throughout the galaxy, species that had considered themselves advanced and sophisticated began to question their own assumptions about civilization and progress. The Centaurian Republic, known for their elegant cities and refined culture, quietly began studying human military history and discovered that Earth's children had fought more wars in their short history than most species had fought in millions of years. The Andromedan Collective, master geneticists who had perfected their own evolution, found themselves trying to understand how a species could choose to remain unmodified and yet be more adaptable than any enhanced beings they had created. Most significantly, the economic and political structures of the galaxy began to shift as other species realized that humanity had been hiding their true capabilities for over 2 centuries. Trade agreements were renegotiated. Defense treaties were restructured. Every major power in the galaxy quietly began to reassess their relationship with the seemingly peaceful humans who had just demonstrated that they could destroy threats that no one else could even survive fighting. Commodore Lee Jun, now promoted to admiral and given command of the newly formed Galactic Defense Force, found himself in the unexpected position of trying to reassure the galaxy that humanity was not interested in conquest. The irony was not lost on him that Earth's children had to prove they were peaceful by demonstrating just how effective they were at war. "We do not want to rule the galaxy," he said during his acceptance speech for command of the Defense Force. "We want to protect it. But you need to understand what that means when it comes from a species like us. When we say we will protect you, we mean we will fight anything that threatens you, no matter how powerful, no matter how impossible the odds, until either you are safe or we are all dead." The formation of the Galactic Defense Force marked the first time in the galaxy's history that military command had been given to humans. The other species had made this decision not because they feared humanity would attack them if they refused, but because they had realized that when the next existential threat appeared, they wanted the Deathworlders on their side. General Shin Rei oversaw the integration of human military doctrine into the combined forces of dozens of different species. The process was challenging because most aliens had never experienced the kind of training that humans considered normal. Physical conditioning that seemed routine to human soldiers was literally impossible for many other species. Combat scenarios that human officers used for basic training were classified as extreme survival situations by most alien militaries, but gradually the other species began to understand what made human military thinking so effective. It was not just their willingness to fight in impossible conditions or their refusal to surrender when outnumbered. It was their fundamental assumption that any situation, no matter how hopeless, could be survived and overcome if you were willing to pay the price. Dr. Park Mira, now Director of Xenological Studies for the Defense Force, established training programs designed to help other species understand human tactical thinking without requiring them to actually fight like humans. The key insight was that humans had evolved not as apex predators, but as the ultimate survivors, and this had shaped every aspect of their military philosophy. "Other species fight to win," she explained to a class of alien military officers. "Humans fight to not lose. That is a very different thing. When you fight to win, you need advantages like superior numbers or better technology. When you fight to not lose, you just need to be more stubborn than your enemy." The long-term effects of the Kron War, as historians would later call it, went far beyond military reform. The galaxy's younger species began studying human culture. and history with new interest, trying to understand how a single world could produce beings with such unusual capabilities. Universities throughout known space added courses on Earth history, human psychology, and what became known as Deathworld, adaptation theory. The older, more established civilizations found themselves questioning assumptions they had held for millions of years. If a relatively young species like humanity could possess capabilities that more advanced civilizations lacked, what other assumptions about progress and evolution might be wrong? Perhaps most importantly, the idea of mutual defense took on new meaning throughout the galaxy. Before the Kron War, most species had viewed military alliances as political conveniences or economic necessities. After seeing what humans were willing to sacrifice to protect people they had never met, the concept of fighting for others became a moral imperative that spread throughout galactic civilization. 5 years after the battle at New Vega, Ambassador Yoon Hana delivered what would become known as the Deathworld speech to the Galactic Council. In it, she articulated the philosophy that would guide human involvement in galactic affairs for generations to come. "We are humanity," she said to the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. "We come from a planet that spent 4 billion years trying to kill us, and we learned to love each other because that was the only way to survive what our own world threw at us. We choose peace because we know the true cost of war better than species that have never had to fight for their right to exist. But when our family is threatened, when innocent lives hang in the balance, you will discover why death itself learned to fear Earth's children." The speech was translated into every language in the galaxy and became required reading at military academies throughout known space. But more than that, it became a promise that every species in the galaxy could depend on. No matter how powerful the threat, no matter how impossible the odds,